Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Para OR Normal Guyz. Did you miss me? I was gone a couple days. I managed to sneak out of town and get some things done. Some new and exciting things, actually. I have a big announcement, but I'm not going to make it until the Grinning Guardian show, which will be 9:05 this channel, same time, same place. You will find out. We have some great news, some great growth, another opportunity. All right, so as usual, the phone lines are open. Let me put the phone lines up here. I want to thank Yergs Radio at yergsradio.com. If you're mobile and can't watch, you can go to yergsradio.com and tune in. If you're mobile and you have a question you want to ask any of us, you can call us at 1-888-88-YERGZ. That's 1-888-88-YERGZ on your phone pad. And the chat is open, so let's go ahead and kick this thing off and bring out my angels. I have Miss Cheyenne and Miss Dina. How are you, young, beautiful ladies tonight?
Awesome. How are you?
Everybody was all right last week. They had us.
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't missed much, I hear. So, all right. Well, we have Nicole backstage. Let's bring her out here, and she is an author of a book, and she's here to tell us about her book, her story, and anything in between. So, how are you, ma'am?
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Shay.
Hi, Dina.
Yes. Nice to meet all of y'all.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you too.
Yeah, welcome. So you and I have been chatting, or well, not chatting, but emailing back and forth for quite a while. And you sent me a copy of your book, and I read it, and wow, what a story. And you did mention earlier backstage you spent a lot of time in Atlanta, so we're kind of close. Since I'm in Atlanta. But you got away.
We're close. Yeah. No, I worked at the CDC in Atlanta for 6 years, the disease detective. So I did my contribution to science, and I'm really try to balance science with, when you have, in my case, a near-death experience that kind of goes against a lot of the science about you coming back, actually resurrecting your, coming back from the dead. And where's the proof in that? How can you prove that, that was something greater than yourself? And that's the whole thing about these spiritual experiences, are that we don't have the science. So that's been real hard for me as a scientist to integrate both of that. And that's what I did in my book called You Are Deathless. I tried to integrate both the science that we have now and my own personal experience. And there are hundreds of thousands of people that support a lot of what I say in my book as well.
Yeah.
That happened when you were a young lady, though, correct? So it's been a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, excuse me.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to set the story for her.
Yeah.
There's a story on this. I'm not trying to be rude.
Yeah, no. Y'all are so Southern polite. Oh my goodness.
Three against one here. You're outnumbered.
Okay. I'll just mute myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually, you're right, Glenn. It happened when I was 19 years old, and it happened when I was a cadet out at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And I will tell you right now, the only reason I even went to the Air Force Academy was because I have an identity. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I don't know if any of you can identify with that, but especially growing up in the South, it's something that we are brought up to do is yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And you keep your emotions that are negative, anger, anything like that, you keep them pressed down. And so you're nice and polite, and it is fine when you're young and you need to survive and you have to do what people say in order to live. But as you get older and you keep doing that, guess what? You feel like a cockroach that just gets stomped on by the end of the day. It doesn't do anything for you, because you're never going, as long as you're pretzeling yourself into different positions to try to please somebody else, you are never going to be able to do it, A. And B, you're never going to get your own voice or your own opinion. You're always going to be saying what other people want you, what they think that you should be saying, instead
you might
of
as well
saying
just
what
be running on
truth.
a treadmill.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you don't even realize that you're still doing it with your mother or with, a family member or, friends, and always just being the pleaser. And so I was doing that to please my father. I had not one military bone in my body. I was a model. I did junior achievement. I did the biggest sport I did was softball. And now I'm going to the Air Force Academy into boot camp. Okay. I got up there. They cut off my hair. They took away everything that I had brought. Except for my bra, and they issued me everything. And I thought the first day, oh my God, have I made a mistake? And I knew by the third week, okay, there's 6 weeks of boot camp. We got to make a phone call. There were no cell phones back in 1983. Right. We got a 3-minute phone call, and I called and I cried the entire 3 minutes. I was hyperventilating. It was my first panic attack, I realized later. I couldn't say one word, and my mother just sat on the other end of the line, and she later told me, I looked at your father and I said, what have we done to her? And he said, oh, she'll be fine. And that's my dad. He's very dogmatically positioned. It's like, it's going to build character. Well, then I went to remedial. Okay. And that did not build character. That built more fear in me. So I was raised real religious, Southern Baptist and Lutheran. So I have been running on fear for most of my life. And let me tell you, that is the whole crux of when I died and went to the other side. My message was to tell people not to fear death. And yet here I am living, growing up with the God that I feared, going into the military, fearing not pleasing the officers, not pleasing my father, and it's just, we don't realize it, but that part of our brain, our amygdala, is taken over, and our sympathetic nervous system, and it's making all our decisions for us instead of our prefrontal cortex, which is where you rest and digest. So it's really, really important that we start understanding how our bodies and our nervous systems are running on fear, and you're never going to have clarity in anything that you decide as long as you're in fear. Well, let me rewind back to age 19. Sorry, I got away from that. But what happened was the beginning of my failure was not an option in my family. I had worked my butt off to get in there, and it was like, you're going to stay there and you're going to complete it. And so my soul got me out of it, and it got me out of it in a really horrific way. And I'm going to put this picture up. I don't know if you could see it. Any idea what kind of car that was?
Is it a pickup? Is it a pickup truck?
Nope. What do most military guys like to buy?
Jeep. No, I don't know.
Corvette convertible.
Oh, okay.
It was a 1965 Corvette convertible. Okay. And I was at a squadron function, and he was the last person to leave. And so I got a ride back with him. And my dad's three rules, he was very rule-minded, was no drinking, no smoking, and no dating cadets. So in essence, no fun. And that's what you go to college for, right? And,
Right.
and I had been such a good girl. I had been playing by the rules, doing everything right. And then I thought, okay, this guy wanted to go have another beer. He wanted to have a cigarette, and then he wanted to make out. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And we got on the road. And the next thing I know, I wound up in the ICU at a community hospital. And what I now know is that I was clinically dead for between 10 to 13 minutes. The EMT on the scene came to my hospital about 10 weeks after the crash. I was in the hospital 4 months, and he told me exactly what happened. And I stay in touch with him even to this day. And I write about him in my book. I went back and interviewed him and the surgeon. But what he said was when he got to the scene, checked him, he had some minimal injuries, checked me, could not get any vitals. So they got a blanket and put the blanket over me. And when he got there, like I said, between 10 to 13 minutes later, he undid the blanket. He couldn't get any vitals. So did something called a sternal knuckle press, which in the healthcare field, if you do that, it's designed to elicit pain in the body.
Yes.
My right pupil dilated, it flinched and opened and dilated. Okay.
Wow.
Now, we all have an energy body, and upon death, that energy body cracks open from the top down, and your soul flies out. Okay. So mine flew out once I went butt up through the windshield. Okay. My memory came back 20 years later, and I know all this now because of my memory coming back 20 years later. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I went butt up through the windshield. And as soon as I got in the air, I froze because I knew when I looked down, I was going to die. I just knew it. And I cried out, God, please help me. And an angel came down and took me to the other side. But that part of my energy body cracking open and my soul going over, that soul part of me, have you ever heard of the phrase, your eyes are the window to your soul?
Yes.
You guys heard that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Now think about this. Think about this. My soul left me. I went to the other side, and then they told me I was going to have to come back. And I was like, oh no, I do not want to get in that body. But I did come back, and I came back. My soul came back through my right eye. And at that point, they could get a blood pressure on me of 60/0. Now, Glenn, what's normal blood pressure?
Wow.
What's normal?
Used to be 120/80, but they're changing it every day, it seems. So
Yeah. So you can see 60/0 is almost dead. Okay.
Yes.
So at least they knew that I was alive. They got these things called mass pants on me, which pushed all the blood up to my organs. My foot had been amputated. My wrist had been severed. I cut a 4th-degree laceration between my anal and sphincter all the way down to my knee. I mean, I was just, they call it bleeding from the bone. It wasn't even any red blood there. And so they did CPR for 20 minutes the entire time to get me to the nearest community hospital. And that's in the days when doctors were still on call, and they were just hoping to save me that night, and they did. They stabilized me and saved me. And then I had 2 more near-death experiences after that. But when I look back on that, I realize how I didn't do anything. This was all a force greater than myself that was doing that. I was out. I was on the other side. I could look down. I could see what I was wearing. I had khaki shorts on, an Azad shirt, and I could see my body in a ditch. And I was like, I don't want to get back in that body because it's going to be really painful and I'm going to suffer a lot. B, I'm gonna be back to an infant state. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. I literally was back to infancy and was going to be totally dependent on my parents, who were controlling. And I was trying to get away from that. Now I'm right back in it. And, it was just, they're also very religious. And when the doctor told them after 4 months of up and down with my health, I was released to go to physical therapy and go home and continue my recuperation. And they said, Nicole needs some mental health help. She's been through a very big trauma. And they said, no, Jesus is going to help her. We believe Jesus is her psychologist. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is a big part of it is religious trauma. Is Jesus never came and sat down on the sofa with me and said, Nicole, let's talk about your trauma. Okay. And as a result of not healing these trauma wounds, I wound up with an eating disorder. Back in the 80s, it was called compulsive eating. And now it's called binge eating disorder. And I lived with that, you guys, for 20 years, from age 20 to 40. I suffered with that.
Wow.
So, and that's because of the self-hate that I screwed up and disappointed my father. And I also disappointed God, the Father. So it's been a hell of a journey, to be putting it mildly, to have to unravel all these belief systems that were put on me that are not mine, and to reconceptualize God, reconceptualize my relationship with myself, with my family, who still don't believe that God is just love. And that is what I experienced on the other side. The only memory I had was the white light. And that was it for 20 years. And the surgeon said that was not the operating room lights, that was actually some super paranormal, some kind of mystic experience that you had. And I was really curious, why would it take my body 20 years for it to come back with the memories? Because I think this is where a lot of people
Well, it wasn't the
judge
right
you,
time.
and they say, well, that's exactly right. And,
Yeah.
you know, your body has to feel safe in order for memories to come up, and you have to feel supported. And if you don't have a family that supports you or friends, it's not going to, you can't go tell your mother and she goes, well, that's not true. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Or no, it
And
couldn't have happened.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you have to be sure in yourself too that you're in the right
Yes.
state of mind and
Mind
ready
frame.
to
Mhm.
lay it
Yeah,
all out
that-
there on the line.
Yeah. So, yeah, and take the criticism and judgment. And people say, you know, that self-doubt that you have, that
Mhm.
did I remember that right or didn't I? But
Mhm.
it
Yes.
was so specific, you know, and I write about in the book how I was just going to work one day at Starbucks, at CDC, and I stopped at Starbucks, and I got back on the road, and I all of a sudden had a flashback, and they're called repressed memories.
Mhm.
And I could see how I was sitting in the car. I could see everything just unfolded like a movie before me. And I was shocked, because it really happened, because he made a sexual pass at me in the car, and I said no, and he got angry, and he turned the wheel of the Corvette really fast. He was speeding, and it fishtailed and hit a huge boulder, and we flipped over, and we were both thrown out, which turned out to save our lives because it landed on its top. So, you know, and then that was like the big aha, why I couldn't sustain a relationship with a guy, because I was always afraid of their anger. If I got them angry, then my brain thought I could be killed. So, you know, it's been a really, really hard journey, because I had to deal with emotions, and I was not taught in the military. It's either yes sir, no sir, no excuse sir. Okay. That was pretty much in our family. So our country is very illiterate when it comes to emotions. We pretty much have 4 emotions: bad, sad, mad, and glad. That's our buffet. And so we need to learn that the emotions stay in our body unless we feel them. And if you don't, you are going to wind up later in life with physical illnesses that they're not going to be able to figure out what's going on, because it is something that you repressed emotionally that needs to come out and be dealt with. And that was a lot I just put out there.
I agree. I know.
No,
Yeah.
it's just so true.
Yeah.
It's just so
That's
true.
what I was going to say. I was just wondering, as a firefighter paramedic, how did you just tell my story? So,
well, I tell you, and the other thing I want to say is I stayed in touch with my 3 angels. Okay. And angels come in many forms. I believe that. There are Casper the ghost, the translucent. That's the one that came and took me to the other side, which later turned out to be my grandfather. Okay.
Wow.
And then there are human angels, like you guys are to Glenn. And my angels were the paramedic, my doctor. She was the first woman surgeon in Colorado Springs. She was the first female medical student at Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia. She was a maverick. Okay. And, but she will tell you, you know, Nicole, you died on the operating room table 2 weeks later. We called the time of death. You know, we went out of the room, and then 2 minutes later, your heart starts again. And I remember I left my body again, and guess where I was going? To that light. I was trying to find that light again, because it was just so beautiful and soothing. I actually felt like an astronaut in outer space that was just in awe and wonder. And why did I want to leave that and come back to Earth? All this suffering and all this hatred and fear and, you know, pain is. And I just thought, oh my gosh. And my angel caught me. Yeah. And my angel caught me. He goes, no, you got to get back in your body.
She's like, get back down there.
You're going to have a mission that you're going to need to do. And I'm just like, no. But I did. And then
that's an amazing
and I will
story.
tell you that the paramedic did win an award. I don't know, Glenn, if they have it where you were, but it's called the Phoenix Award, which is given to a first responder when they bring someone who is deemed clinically dead back to life. He won that twice in his career, and one was for my save. So I am so grateful that he was there that day. He was a former Navy SEAL, and he wasn't going to let anybody tell him how to treat people. But I want to tell people that it is. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's funny you say that, because my first cardiac arrest save as a paramedic, you said Jesus isn't sitting beside you. Well, it was a long story getting to it, and I'll leave that. I could tell you off the air to save time for your show. But the patient came back to life, vitals returned, color looked good. He turned around, looked to his wife, who I later found out was a trauma nurse at the University of Tennessee. And said, it's all going to be okay, and went to reach towards me like he was going to hug me. And I'm like, what? No, dude, seriously, calm down. He's like, no, not you. He's sitting right beside you. It's Jesus. I'm like, whoa. Hope one of us is a paramedic, because this is about to get very ugly. That was the very first thought that went through my mind.
And then he died, right?
Not hallucinating. I mean, these are not.
No.
You can't make this. You can't. Did he die?
He did.
Oh,
no, he was my first, and the doctor told me, he said that will never happen again.
He did die.
Yeah, he died. Yes.
Then.
I brought it several times. It was a fight. I wasn't. We were back and forth for about an hour on the transport to the hospital, and then once in the hospital, he was doing the same thing. But, I later asked him, because he described the light, and I said, well, that's probably just, we had those big round white lights on the ambulance. I said, that's probably just that. And he's like, no, it wasn't that. I'm like, okay. I didn't doubt it. But yeah, for the longest time, that was my very first, actually, I think that might've been my first cardiac arrest where I was a paramedic in charge. So, I was a brand new paramedic. And when he said, it's Jesus, he's sitting right there. And I'm like, oh, the very first thought went through my mind was, I hope one of us is a paramedic.
No, they're right there. I mean, the veil is so thin. If we could just understand, we have a whole host of help on the other side. We just have to ask them for help. And especially the angels, you have to ask for help unless you're in a life and death situation. And in that case, like with me, the angel will come down and save you. And in that case, an ascended master, which is what I call Jesus, came down. He may have called out or just appeared to bring him comfort. So I just find all of that very comforting and very validating. And they make, we're all energy. We have to remember that. Yeah. So we can transform ourselves when we're on the other side into all these different forms. And when I was on the other side, it's like you don't have the eyes like we have now. You have eyes that can see 360 and see everything going on at once and see so far out. So you don't have this limited, maybe 20% visual periphery that we have here, and everything that you hear is telepathy, it's vibration. They're not talking to English to you up there. You're having to translate that when you come back into words. And that's why so many of us with NDEs can't find the right words to describe the magnificence, the brilliance, the beauty of the other side, because it's not in our vocabulary to describe how wonderfully awesome it is on the other side. So anyway, that's something you have to understand is when you've had something like this, you change, you go through a spiritually transformative experience. You're not the same person. You're more sensitive to toxins, to alcohol, to odors, to noise, to people's energy. Mm-hmm. And my husband's a musician, and I'm like, oh, it's not soundproof enough, his music studio. But it's hard. It is hard to come back once you've experienced that. And a lot of people try to go back, like I did, because you just can't see how you're going to live or how your mission, which is what I was given 20 years later, how in the world, death is such a huge topic, and we are a death denial culture in America. We don't like to talk about it. It's morbid, and we don't want to do our wills. We don't want to tell, we don't think we're going to die. And here's the deal, everyone. We never know when our last day on this planet is going to be. And if we actually lived with that awareness and that mindset, we would be more present, we would be more loving, we would be kinder, and we would be more in resonance and acceptance of life. And with Mother Earth, we would treat her better, all sentient beings and one another, and we would live in a deeper way. But we don't think it's going to happen to us. We think we're going to drive home from work and we're going to make it home okay, and nothing's going to, it's just going to be another day. But that doesn't happen to everybody every day. Every day somebody's not going to make it home.
That cat.
Okay, there's a bomb drop.
Yeah.
Well, now you mentioned that there's.
But I mean, it's something we need to think about and we need to talk about.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned that on the other side that there's all this goodness and light, but sometimes there's got to be another side to it that people see too, the darker side of things. So
yes,
it's kind of like hot and cold.
Yes, they do.
The way I feel like it.
Well, I think they estimate between 11 to 22% of the people that have an NDE. It's called a distressing NDE. So it's more on the darker side, or it is dark. And what I will say about that, there are books written about it by scientists and by people who've been through that. You don't have to be a bad person to have a bad experience. You can be a good person and still have a dark experience. Bad and good are earth terms that we created on planet Earth in order to evaluate ourselves and others. Those terms do not exist on the other side. There is no judgment on the other side. Let me repeat that. There is no judgment on the other side. So what we do here on planet Earth is we tend to put judgment first. We judge everything, okay? And judgment creates a lot of fear. And then we'll look at loving that person. But we're going to judge them first. Oh, you did something bad. Then we'll love you. And then you're going to have peace, right? And I'm trying to reverse that order and say love goes first. Take out the judgment. You won't need the judgment if you love yourself and you love others. And then you will have peace. But you're not going to get to peace as long as judgment's in there. And you're not going to be judged on the other side. You will have a life review. Okay, let me make sure you do understand that part, because everything that you say, do, and think here on this planet matters. Okay, that's
even what you think.
Right, well, yeah. I mean, we'll put it this way: everything what we said, we did, and we thought. Yeah. Okay. So we need to focus. We need to focus on good things. We need to, focus on the positive. We need to focus on things that lift us up, not bring us down. That kind of thing. And to me, that's really important. And that's where your intention in life is about. And you have to become aware of this. And so many of us are running around with spiritual amnesia. We're born with it. Okay. We forget who we are, that we're these spiritual beings that are occupying a human body for a very short period of time. And until we have accomplished what we needed to do here, learn the lesson, or in my case, I had to rewrite my contract about why I was coming back. So why I'm coming back is because this is my mission now, is to tell people not to fear death. And also the death of identities that we carry around, these mistaken identities, like a people pleaser or being a rebel or what it is, because once you get rid of those identities, you have freedom. Okay. And that is what, if you're in fear, you're not going to be free. So that's why I tell people, you need to really dig apart this, take off the layers of what really you are afraid of when it comes to death and dying, unpack it and get to the root of it so that you can truly live, because you're not going to truly live your life and celebrate your life and enjoy this life if you're in fear.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, one of the comments was, or questions really, are there ghosts talking to you every day?
Talking to me?
Yeah, I guess she's
I
asking if you have.
have angel. No, I don't have ghosts.
You're not a
Although I live in
psychic.
a home.
I'm sorry.
No,
No.
Okay, yeah, that was one
I
of
live
the
in a house that's
questions.
1850, but
Oh, wow.
but the guy that
Oh.
lived here before had great energy. He was
Yeah.
I know all about him. I know where he's buried. But he was he helped abused kids. He helped build the railway in New Bern. I mean, I have all this information. Uh-oh.
I'll be back.
Ghost get him?
No, we'll be back.
I
I'll be
don't
right
know
back.
what happened.
Okay.
That was weird.
That made me dizzy that time.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened.
See,
That was
okay.
weird.
See, there those well,
The
that's
angels
somebody giving
have
us a
spoken.
message somewhere. They
Yeah.
play with
Yes.
they have said you got to ask for help, and they talk to you. Then, well, they communicate with you.
Yeah.
But I have a team of angels around me, and I have gotten to know them. We all have at least one guardian angel around us at all times. And my guardian angel, she sits on this side of me, and her name is Serafina. And you can ask your angel what
My
is their
grandmother's
name. You can
name.
ask them for a parking.
I'm
Really?
sorry. Yeah.
It's not a name that it's not a name that you hear very much.
No,
is
it isn't. No. Her name was Serafina.
Yeah, but isn't that a beautiful name? No,
It
but
is.
anyway, so I have different angels for different functions, and at different points in my life, when I've completed something, that angel will leave, and another angel will come in for the next purpose or assignment or whatever that they're going to help me with. And then there are also spirit guides, and they're available to help us as well. And mine is Violet, and so I have this team that I communicate with, and they give me signs. I ask for evidence, and I will say, please show me a sign. I need to see a purple iris or something like that, and sure enough, I will see that in the next 24 to 48 hours, and it just confirms for me that, okay, they're listening, they're giving me answers. They may not be the answers that I think I want or need, and that's where you have to stay open-minded. But they are guiding us. They want our highest and greatest good always. And when you're in fear, usually worry goes with fear. You're so dense and in a low vibration, spirit can't break through that. So that's another reason why you have to start digging in and unwinding this worry that you live with and the fears that you're living with. And a lot of that could be repressed memories or traumas that is operating unconsciously.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
Well, do you think that we come back multiple times? But go ahead with your but
yes,
one of my questions. I was going to ask the reincarnation, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we do come back multiple times. Our soul has been at this many lifetimes. Some of us are at a higher level than others. That's why when you look at a baby, sometimes you look at them and you say, God, that baby looks like an old soul, right?
Yeah.
They just, they do. They look like Ben Franklin, or I'm watching that Franklin series, but anyway, they look like Ben Franklin or somebody like that. And you're going, gosh, otherwise you see these babies that are just young and cheerful, and they look like their Gerber baby commercial. You can really tell. And yeah. And it's like, okay, yes, you do come back again, as long as you have not learned the lesson that you contracted to learn prior to coming to incarnating on this planet. And here's the deal: you can incarnate on this planet, or you can come in from another planet. Okay, we would be very simple-minded to think that we are the only living species out here. Okay, there are other. Yes, that's a beautiful word for it. Okay, there are other planets, there are other beings, and they're at a higher frequency. They're at a higher vibration. They don't treat their animals like we do, like some people do, okay, abusively, or slaughterhouses in terms of getting something to eat. They can't understand how we would murder other souls. In the military, they taught us we all bleed red. Okay. There's no distinction about, when you're laying there, and you would know this, Glenn, as a paramedic, you don't care what their political beliefs are. You don't care if they're, gay or not. You don't care about their sexual orientation, their race, their religion, anything. You're just there trying to save their life. And that's what we can't seem to understand as a country is everyone and everything is connected. Okay. And that is something we need to learn, and we need to learn to respect all other humans because we are all equal. Okay. And when we pass away, all of our souls go back to the other side, to heaven, and we are one collective consciousness. Okay. And so the main theme on the other side is love and oneness. That's what we really are. But yes, you will come back. And that's why sometimes you're repeating the same lesson, maybe from 10 past lives ago, because you always died before you got the lesson. It's like picking the same kind of guy. It may be you pick the color purple in the guy and he was bad for you, but then you go to like violet, you go to the different shades of purple, but you never get out of the purple category and go, I just need to get out of purple and go to green. This guy is just, I'm picking different variations of him. He's not emotionally available. He cheats on me, whatever it is, So, you got to understand that we came here for our soul to evolve, and you have contracted for a lesson to learn, and you're here to learn that lesson. And I want people to understand that they're not mistakes here that we're making. We, again, use that term here that you made a mistake, but it's about learning from the lesson and becoming aware. And the only way that you're going to change who you are is to become aware of something. And that's why it's so important for people to understand they need to start understanding what their concept of God is, because your belief about God shapes your relationship to death. So if you're coming from a religion where you were taught that God is love, but God is also to fear, and there are rules and there's judgment, what I want to say is it's okay to have a belief in God, but God is love, and anything that's telling you that God is fear is going to keep you in a low vibration, and you're going to stay stuck. You're never gonna manifest or actualize what your great desires are, because you're always going to be in fear of not being good enough or worthy enough, or any of these belief systems. But I really want people to understand that love is the most important thing, and God, source, whatever you want to call it, is love. And it's an energy. There's nowhere God is not. It's an intelligence. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. But yeah, we're going to rotate through, and you're moving up the scale. Do you guys remember in school Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's at the top of that pyramid?
Self, I can't remember.
Success. No. No.
Self-actualization.
Okay.
Yeah. Success. Then you help others. Yeah.
You flipped it. That's the bottom. That's the bottom. Food, shelter, clothing. Although I put one underneath that called the internet and batteries, because if people don't get, they'd rather be dead than not be able to get internet access these days.
You're right. They would.
They could do without food. They could do without clothing, but they have to have that battery and that internet.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to talk just a minute about something called soul loss or soul fragmentation. Have you guys ever heard of that concept?
I don't
No.
think so. I don't believe so.
Okay, so this is something that I want your listeners especially to hear, because this is something I wish I would have known a long time ago, and it helped immensely in my healing journey, which is ongoing. Okay, I still have to deal with different facets of healing. I have major PTSD and stuff like that, but it's called soul loss. And what soul loss is when you experience trauma, your soul will fracture. Parts of your soul will just fly off. And it does that to protect you. Okay. And there are 3 symptoms to this. And so if you've been trying to get well and you just, you're stuck, you just aren't getting the help that you need, think about maybe investigating that you have lost part of your soul fractured. The first one is you don't want to be here. And I don't know if you've heard of people talk about, I just don't want to be here on this planet. I don't fit in. I don't like whatever it is. And I knew this when my memory came back 20 years later. I didn't want to come back. So I just thought my life's just going to be filled with pain and suffering. I don't want to come back. So that's the first symptom. The second one is a low level, consistent feeling that something is missing. Now, it's interesting to note with this one, this is where many compulsive behaviors and addictions come from, because I can now clearly see the link with my binge eating disorder and this feeling of emptiness that I had. That was the 20 years that I had that memory gap, was the 20 years of my eating disorder. Okay. So I didn't believe in God anymore. I was searching for what was out there, or the God I was raised with, let's put it that way. And I just felt empty and depressed. And so that something's missing in my life. And I just couldn't figure out what it was or how to change it. And the third is you can't get over it. Something just keeps spinning over the same thing over and over and over. And this can manifest as like chronic wasting, or this sense of you're stuck with a chronic health condition. And for me, it was this hypervigilance that I had for so many years that I had to keep myself safe. Like, I have to drive the car now because I wasn't in control when the crash happened and the guy was driving. Okay. So now I got to control everything, which is an illusion. We can only control so much within our lives. But I was like, no, I've set all these rules to try to keep my life safe. And that if I was safe, then nothing bad could happen to me again. So just like with a physical wound that has to heal, a broken arm, you have to set it, go to the doctor. You have a mental wound, you have to see a psychiatrist, psychologist, maybe take medications to help that heal. We have something called a soul wound. And I am a 100% disabled veteran now. And I find it absolutely terrible that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. 22 of them already today committed suicide. This is every single day. And I think a huge part of this is soul loss. Our souls are not designed to see the horror and torture and trauma and what you've seen, Glenn, I'm sure, in terms of coming up to a scene and seeing bodies that are mangled and dead and disheveled and, cut off or whatever. I mean, it's horrific. And to see your best friend or your mate or, that your soul just doesn't know how to incorporate that. So their pieces or chunks of their soul are just flying out of them. And so they're constantly disassociating and they're looking for a substance to ground them. And that's where the addictions come in and the compulsive behaviors. So neglecting these hurt, fragmented parts is going to lead to other problems, such as depression and things like that. So just like any other wound, it needs attention. And I'm here to tell you, you can go to a shaman, you can go to a hypnotherapist, you can go to a pastor if they believe in this type of work. You can call these back soul parts in yourself if you know what you're doing. But soul retrieval, you can look it up, Google it. It's a powerful healing tool that works. And what we're dealing with here is this spiritual hidden realm And I'm here to tell you, it's a very real thing.
How do you find somebody that's legitimate to do that?
You can go on different websites. Yeah. I used a person in Kauai. They can do in Hawaii. I lived there for a while, and there was a shaman on the island of Kauai that they can do long distance. Interview them, call them up, do like you do with a physician, a consult, and just see if you like them and what other people reviews on them. And more people are getting into shamanic journeying, and that's been indigenous with the American Indians for years. So
yes.
there is
That's true, yeah.
There's a history of it. It just doesn't come from the Christianity angle of things. Right. So people get a little bit woo-woo of it. But some pastors, if they're trained in that and understand what the soul really is, because I wasn't educated on what a soul is in church. I was just told if you're bad, your soul's going to hell. And I'm here to tell you,
that's the way I grew up too. But I don't believe that. I mean, it's hard to get out of that mindset, but it's hard. I don't believe that anymore. I mean, I just
there is no hell. Hell is on earth. I tell people when people say, "Is there a hell?" I go, "Hell no! It's in Gaza right now with Israel and the bombing and people living.
We're living it right now.
Yeah,
and people that are in these massive addictions that are laying out, filling themselves up with fentanyl or whatever, and they're that crisis, the opioid crisis, that's living in hell, what it's doing to families. So, it's not a place you're going to, it's a state of being that you can be in on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting riled up now.
One of the comments was they were asking, do dreams matter? I was always taught that was your brain processing the subconscious.
Yeah, dreams matter. Dreams are trying to get your attention. And when we go to sleep, our body goes into a different state. It goes into, there's the different waves that we go into, REM states. And so basically your body is at a point where it is the closest to the other side, okay, because you're not conscious. And so it's giving you images of, the dream is images of things that you need to pay attention to in your life. And there's books out that have, like, if you're always in a car, it means something, or if you're in a house, it means something. So they give you different analogies of what common dreams are, your teeth falling out or whatever that seem to be repetitive with a lot of people. But pay attention to your dreams, write them down. Okay, most of the time you wake up and you won't remember it. But if it's a powerful dream, wake up in the middle of the night and write it down and talk to someone about it, and ask what they think. Because usually if you say it to someone else, they'll go, "Oh, sure, that's your mom." I mean, it wasn't physically your mom in the dream, but it's somebody that resembles your mom, and that, you're worried about her, or you need to tell her the truth about something, and you're scared she's gonna, be hurt and she's gonna reject you, and get mad, and you're not supposed to hurt your mother, and you hurt, all these messages come through. So you're living in this fear, but you need to tell the truth, and it's really got you in a catch-22.
Yeah. Well, we also have people that come on here and tell us about demons and bad things that they've done to them, and bad ghosts and spirits. What do you think that is? I mean, I always thought that maybe it was just there's mischievous people, maybe there's mischievous souls. I don't know. There's mean people, there's mean souls. I don't know if that's.
I think a lot of times there are souls that get, when there especially is a trauma where they die and they get caught, like between being able to go over to the other side and being here on earth, and they're trapped, and they need permission, they need help to get over to that other side. So they're trying to get someone's attention, and sometimes the only way to do it is in a negative way. And so I also think that a lot of times people that have NDEs that are distressing, they could be drug related, they could be the drug is causing them to experience something in a more distressing or distorted way. It could be that they're at a certain point in their life where everything is dark in their life. Dark night of the soul. I don't know if you've heard that, but sometimes you go through it and you don't think you're ever going to get out of it. And you just get deeper and deeper into this darkness. And so when they're in that state is when they experience that darkness. And so some of the NDEs actually start out in the darkness and then wind up in the light. So it can transfer in that. So, I really have to watch my energy, and I'm always clearing my energy. And that's important for people to do because it's called energy medicine, actually, because will absorb, especially if somebody does not take responsibility for something that they did. If you're an empath or a sensitive person, you'll take on the responsibility, even though it's not yours, and you'll own the feelings that should be the other person's. And you wind up carrying that, and it makes you sick. So you got to get real clear and keep your energy clear of what's your boundary and what's their boundary. And it's hard to do if you grew up with somebody that's always putting the blame on you. You're always the one who is at fault. They never take responsibility. Yeah. And so watch that in your life if you're got people like that, because they're toxic. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we always ask your whole story is paranormal to most people. So we always ask the guests right at the end of their part of the show, if they have had any experiences as far as anything, could be ghosts, Bigfoot, anything. It sounds as though your whole experience was paranormal, but have you had anything separate from that?
I will say my grandfather came to me right after I wrote the book, and it's called You Are Deathless. And I want to tell you this real quick. See that credential there, BTDT?
Yes.
Do you know what that means? What is it?
No. What's it?
Go ahead.
BTT. I don't. Big deal. I don't know.
I've never seen that.
I think I have, but
it's been there, done that. Okay, and that is my credential
I like it
for being on your show and experience
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, I want people to. If you have like this. Yeah, because this is something that you don't get a certification to go into the other side and come back. That's and true. Getting your memory back and then continuing to have experiences to support you. Okay, so I will tell anybody, if you've had experience, that trumps education and theory and all the rest of the letters that you're out. I'm getting help with someone. I want a therapist who's been there, done that, knows about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put that on my book. So you guys feel free to add that to your resumes as well. If you have experience in some field that doesn't have a quote certification. So my grandfather came to me. I was just writing one day and I smelled cigar smoke. Okay. And no one in my house smokes. And I was like, oh my goodness, where is this coming from? And then I heard a voice and it said Nicole, and I was like going, this is weird. And I said, I just answered it. I said, yes. And he said, this is your grandfather on your paternal side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing talking to me? And he said, because he smoked cigars and he drank alcohol. And he said, I want you to know, in the book, I couldn't identify a lot of NDEs they see deceased loved ones on the other side. And by the way, your pets will also be on the other side. So your pets will be in heaven with you. So he said to me, in the book, you called it Casper the Friendly Ghost, but it was really me. And he said, I'm coming to you now because you're 58 years old and it's August. And I died at age 58 in August. And I was an alcoholic while I was on Earth. And the guy that was driving your car, it turned out to be, was an alcoholic. So I needed you to know that I saw the suffering and pain and abuse that you were going through at the Air Force Academy. And I knew how bad you needed to get out of there and that no one was helping you or giving you permission to leave. And he said, so I was the angel that came down and pulled you up, and I will be with you for the rest of your life until you expire and come back and see me permanently. And he was in his early 30s. He was in his early 30s. And it was just such a comfort to me. And he said, I'm going to be your military angel and I'm going to protect you. And anytime there's a possibility that you're going to be in an accident or anything like that, I'm here to protect you until you are ready. You've done what you have come here to do, and it's time for you to pass on permanently to the other side. And I was just blown away because I couldn't make that up. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And the alcoholic parallel, because when you're on the other side, it didn't matter what you did here. That didn't matter at all. You don't even know that on the other side. But the fact that they were both alcoholics, he understood the situation. And it just makes me feel closer to him because I was only 6 years old when he passed away from a massive heart attack.
Wow. That's
you have an incredible story.
You do.
And speaking of which, you've written your book. Where can people find it? Where can people find you? And if somebody has something they want to share or just ask, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can check out my website, www.nicolekerr.com, and you can get the book on Amazon. It's only $9.99. Okay, that's a Frappuccino and probably a croissant at Starbucks. Okay, it's not. Yeah, exactly. So, $10. Took me 13 years to write it. I put my heart into it. I was honest. I was authentic. And I wanted to tell people the truth. And so I also have a blog, a newsletter that comes out maybe when I feel like it, or when I have something important to say. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I tried TikTok for about 3 weeks, but honestly, I can't keep up that pace that you need to. And I don't think my audience is the 30-year-olds. They still think they're immortal.
We do. Well, yeah. I feel like I'm 30. I'm not 30.
And I'd like to say one more thing, and that's if you're a single parent, and you had a spouse or partner that died, and your child is young and comes up to you and says, "Mommy, or Daddy, are you going to die?" And you say, "No, of course not. I'm healthy. Nothing's going to happen to me." I want you to think about what you're telling them. I want you to maybe rephrase that and talk to them in a truthful way to say, our lives aren't guaranteed. Okay, I'm going to do everything I can to stay alive and see you through. But accidents happen, people get diseases, have situations happen. And if that happened, you would go live with Aunt Nicole and Uncle James and you'd be taken care of, but I'm going to be with you in spirit form and I'm going to watch over and give them the truth instead of trying to make them feel better by just saying, no, nothing's going to happen to me, because you really don't know that. And if something does happen to you, that child is going to feel lied to again. And it's going to have trust issues. It's going to be angry. There's so many things that happens instead of being able to have an age-appropriate conversation with the child about how it happened to any time, and we need to be prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to keep in touch with you.
It's hard to do, but if they ask you, be honest. Please do. All of y'all do.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah, I still have plenty of questions for you, so maybe we'll have you back sometime.
Thank you. And I would love that. And I'm also on Audible. I narrated my own book, and I had to go back into therapy when I did that, because it's one thing to write the story. It's another to actually read your story. Then it's another thing to hear your story in your own voice being said back to you and go, oh my God, I went through all that, you know? So it's a layered. Healing is not linear. So
no, not at all.
I want to tell people that as well. It's not, no.
Wow.
Don't get caught in that trap thinking if I just do A plus B, it's going to equal C. So it's nice to meet all of y'all as well. And thank you so much for having me on your show. And just, God bless. And just, be kind to one another. We're not here very long, and kindness is not hard to do.
That's true.
We try.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you scoot because our next guest is here. So we appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Aloha, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I'm Miranda Maverick, and when I'm in fight camp, I never listen to the Sportcat podcast.
All right. Oh, I'm hidden. All right. Well, that was a great. That was great. And tonight is the Battles of the Nicoles. She's been backstage for a bit here, so I'm going to bring her out. I feel bad about keeping her backstage for so long. This young lady is Nicole Strickland. Hello. How are you?
Hello, guys. No, don't feel bad at all. Not at all. My goodness. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Doing good. Tired, but okay.
Yeah, me too.
One of those days.
Yeah, well, it feels like Monday to me. So
It does. I know. I wonder if I should turn my light off. No, it's still okay. It's like my light is crazy, but oh well. Again, thanks for having me.
You look fabulous. So
do you guys.
Well, thank you. We're having the Nicole battle tonight. The young lady in front of you also is named Nicole, and she was an author as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm one of these, and I know you probably have a lot of guests like this that has been interested in the paranormal since childhood. So as far back as I can remember, just had that interest in the unknown. And I can't say I always, but I knew at a young age that there was something more to just us mortal beings here, that there were, other life forms and other beings and other spirits and whatnot. So that interest in specifically ghosts and hauntings, as I've gotten older, I've delved a little bit more into afterlife study of human consciousness after death and that sort of thing. But the interest in the paranormal stayed with me. As I grew older, I would watch, TV shows as much as I could, read books, stayed with me even out throughout college. And even though I had a lot of experiences growing up that I really couldn't explain, the one that I think for me was the most profound, and I've shared this before on other shows, is the experience I had with my maternal grandmother, Helen Lopinto. And she actually, and it's interesting, I'll try to paraphrase this because it's kind of a long story. She called me, and I was a senior at the University of Arizona, and she called me the night before she passed. And it was interesting. She wanted to know if I was okay. Now, she was a grandmother. She used to worry about all of us. But I thought, why is she just randomly calling me in the afternoon wanting to know if I was okay? It just didn't fit right. Now I know in retrospect that she was just going and making her rounds, making sure the family was okay before she departed. So I talked with her about 15, 20 minutes, had a really good conversation with her. And then fast forward to the next day, my mom, her daughter, called me, and I knew by the tone of my mom's voice that tragic news was about to be said. And my mom said, Nicole, I love you so much, but, and she proceeded to share the words, Grandma passed away early this morning. My world collapsed. Here I was in Tucson, Arizona, where the U of A is. I got the next flight out to San Diego, spent some time with the family. My grandmother never had a funeral, but we had like a small little viewing at Greenwood Mortuary. And then I went back to Tucson, Arizona after a few days, and I started having experiences in my apartment that I did not have prior. Now, I was in an upstairs apartment, so of course I dismissed those initially as my neighbors. It was noise from my neighbors, vibration from living upstairs, what have you. But I started having odd experiences, specifically with the doorknobs of, especially my front door and my bedroom door, would occasionally rattle as if someone was trying to open the door. Now, interestingly, my grandmother, when she was alive, would go around the house at night, her house in Kensington in San Diego, and she would make sure that the doors were all locked. Again, I didn't really think it was her right away. A few days later, I was sitting on my bed, I think writing a paper or something, and I didn't see anything, but I felt what felt like a disembodied hand kind of touch my face, and it felt comforting. It felt like it came from someone I knew and loved very much. That's when I started to connect the dots. Could this be Helen communicating? But again, I was in grief mode. Maybe am I projecting this? Is this some sort of bereavement hallucination? That's kind of what was going on in my mind. And then a few days later, give or take 2 or 3, I must say, I was again in my bedroom writing, I think studying or doing a paper, when all of a sudden I noticed something. My closet was off to my left side. And so I noticed something there. And when I looked, there was my grandmother, complete, full-bodied. It appeared as though she had almost like a spotlight shining against her back. So it created this like whitish halo around her. And she looked about maybe 10, 15 years younger. She did not say anything, but she had a smile on her face. She was wearing one of her favorite house dresses that she used to like to wear. And the experience seemed to play out in slow motion. I would say that I looked at her for about maybe 1 to 2 seconds. And then I saw her just fade before my eyes. And so that's when I started to connect the dots. Again, I was still thinking, am I projecting this because I'm in grief mode? But now that I've thought about it over the years, and she has come and visited myself, my mom, one of her daughters, of course, her youngest daughter. And I do think that it was a legitimate visitation. And so that really catapulted me. And it was after that I started investigating the paranormal, just working out in the trenches and working with different teams. And that's after doing that, founded my own team in San Diego in 2009. And here we are. So I really credit her for kind of really paving the pathway for me, if you will.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that we hear a lot of people say that what gets them into it is some type of experience.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know that I've ever heard of a personal experience. Somebody said it was a family member per se. Usually they're looking for the family member is how it starts out. So you kind of started different than a lot of people do.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I said, I've had experiences all my life, but having something like that with a family member that I was so close to shortly after her death was just very powerful to me. So, and I asked other family members, I said, did you have any experiences with her? No one did. But if they did, they're not coming forward. I think I'm the only one that experienced that. So it's pretty profound. It got me started on what I'm doing. So I really do thank her for that.
Yeah. And I think you should. So you've done a lot of research. You're on the West Coast, so I don't run into many people from the West Coast. So you're one of the first ones from the West Coast. We're based in the South. I'm in Atlanta. Dina's in Tennessee. Cheyenne up there is in West Virginia. So we're all kind of scattered out in the Northeast. So you're kind of our first contact we've had on the show on the West Coast.
Oh wow, cool. Well, I hope I set the bar for West Coast people.
I'm sure you will. But what type of investigations, anything? I know you have some specific things you're looking into, but what is your main focus? And there's no scientific way to put a answer on any of the questions, but what are your opinions on what are some of the things that are out there or the things that even go bump in the night?
Sure. So I'll just start out with, so like I said, I've investigated with, when I first started, I started with a bunch of different teams just in the Southern California area. And then after that, and I had some experience under my belt, I formed the San Diego Paranormal Research Society in 2009. And so we will investigate private residences. We're very selective with those. Of course, historic sites, business sites. So we've done a lot of the well-known historic locations in San Diego, such as like the Star of India, the Berkeley ferry boat, places in Old Town San Diego, like the Cosmopolitan Hotel, Presidio Park, Sarah Museum. And then places even up North County for about 10 years. We had tenure at the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe, which is a very historic land rancho that started in 1850. And we actually did fundraising paranormal tours there for many years. So it's nice when you can have an actual like case study at a property as opposed to just doing like 1 or 2 overnights. And then, of course, other locations in Southern California as well. Myself personally, and I'll can talk about this later. I've been very much into studying the Queen Mary, the RMS Queen Mary in Long Beach history, as well as paranormal phenomena for about 20 years. And then let's see, in terms of the Midwest, I actually met Dale Kaczmarek of the Ghost Research Society. I want to say it was 2008. We were both at a conference up in Yosemite, and he was a speaker there. And then I got to know him. And so I landed the role of the California coordinator for that team. So I've been able to investigate some Midwest locations like Waverly Hills and Lincoln Theater, see some spots throughout Chicago, so which has been really cool. I'm one of these investigators that likes to think outside of the box, and I think there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes I think I go a little bit way too much out into the field, or out into left field, if you will, or right or center, whatever, however you put it. But I think for me, and I've asked people this too, and it's interesting that a lot of other people feel this way as well. I think that there's some sort of connection or nexus between different energies, whether it's a human energy that's passed, or maybe it's an interdimensional being or cryptid, whatever. It seems like there's some sort of connection there. I don't know what it is, but that's something that I've pondered a lot. So, and like I said earlier, in addition, my main specialty has always been ghost research, research like spirit communication, audio experimentation, haunted per se locations. I've been interested in cryptozoology and ufology, but I've mainly investigated just more of the ghost research angle. And then in the last few years, I've branched out into more afterlife studies. So like I said, delving more into study of like synchronicity, dream visitations, spirit communication, afterlife study, generally near-death experiences, what have you. So that's kind of been my focus as well. But I think that, I can't say what an interdimensional being is, or necessarily what Bigfoot is. A lot of people have different thoughts. I do think that maybe Bigfoot and a lot of crypto beings are interdimensional. That's my thought on that. But there seems to be some weird connection with it all. And I don't know exactly what that is. I'm not sure if we're supposed to know, being mortals, but that's just kind of what my thought is. I don't know what you guys think, but that's something that I often ponder about. So
I call it like the Matrix. We're all a part of this Matrix. We're all in this together, and we all have different journeys and whatever to do. But and I certainly believe, like the young lady before you was talking about, that we would be foolish to think that we were the only planet.
Oh yeah.
So I think that there's not only other dimensions. I think there's other planets. We can't be the smartest kid on the block for sure.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, absolutely. I've actually met people that think that we're the only planet.
Yeah.
That other species don't exist, and that's fine. More power to you, but it's just there. I think that in terms of the multiverse, there's so much out there that we haven't discovered. It's like if you're standing on a beach of sand and you pick up a little grain of sand, I think that's what we've discovered, and there's this whole beach left out for us to explore. I like to think that anyways.
Same thing.
So
yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
So what tools do you use to go in? Let's say somebody calls and you want to go in and investigate whether it's a residence or a commercial property order. What tools do you use to try and get some rock hard scientific evidence that there's something going on there?
Sure, I tend to, and again, everyone's different. There's really no wrong way to do this. If you're disrespectful, I could say, yeah, that's wrong. But in terms of what equipment you use, people like to experiment with different gadgets and whatnot. I tend to, whatever the location is experiencing. So, for example, if a historic site is mainly where people are mainly hearing disembodied voices, maybe there's not a lot of visual sightings, it's more audio. I would tend to go in a little bit initially by using more types of audio experimentation. So I kind of gauge what we do based on what the claims are initially, and then do that initial investigation. And then if we get some other types of experiences, whether it's a personal experience or a type of data that warrants other types of gadgets, then we'll go in again and use those. So I'm one of these that, and I've always been like this, I feel like less is more. I get a lot of anxiety when I go into sites and there's just this overload of equipment. Again, that's just me. It works for some people. But for me, it's just, a good, and this is me personally, we use, different cameras, different types of audio recorders, different types of electric or EMF meters, environmental monitoring gadgets of that nature. But if it were me, I would be happy just going in with an audio recorder, maybe a good camera, maybe my phone, make sure it's on airplane mode, and I'd be set to go. I tend to, and everyone's, tends to favor certain types of methodology. I've always really loved audio. So EVP work, even ITC, even though it's controversial, sometimes using the Estes method, but it just depends. But we'll use different types of cameras, audio recorders, some trigger objects if it warrants it, and then of course environmental monitoring. But I feel for what's worked for me personally is just going in less is more. And then of course too, we employ metaphysical types of devices too. I know that that's controversial, not everyone does that, but we will use divining rods, not all the time. But if we feel that, let's say we're doing an EVP session and we want to use some divining rods, and let's say we get an answer of yes or no, and then we get the rods to cross for yes, well, that's two different pieces of information. So it's always trying to connect those pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. But we'll use pendulums sometimes, not always, but we're open to using metaphysical types of devices. So, but that's kind of like how we approach it. And we're very methodical. A lot of times with a historic site, the claims, the types of experiences. You don't necessarily need to interview the managers or the curators unless they have something new to add. Of course, a private residence is a lot different. It's almost like social work in a way, where you're really kind of sifting through the family dynamics first before you actually get to the paranormal side of it.
Yeah.
So
when you're interviewing the family, you got to go the persons. You have to go from everything from their history to the house's history.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more cumbersome. It's rewarding, but yeah, there's a lot more layers to it than just going into, let's say the Queen Mary and doing an investigation. So
yeah, well, your Queen Mary is one of your biggest fascinations, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you guys been?
I have not. No.
It's amazing.
I've seen a lot of shows on it. Especially growing up, I always thought it was interesting with the haunted swimming area.
Oh yes, yeah, that's like one of the hot spots of the ship. Yeah, it's weird. My first glimpse of the Queen Mary. It was I was in college at the University of Arizona, and I was a junior, and so we were on spring break, and so a friend and I came back out here, and we went on one of those 3-day Carnival cruises, and so there's a Carnival cruise port like right next to the ship. And I remember seeing the Queen Mary. I didn't even know anything about it at this point, and this was the year 2000. And I remember seeing the Queen Mary from the backseat of a car, and I just instantaneously was like, oh my gosh, I will be back one day. And so that day came a few years later, and it was just love at first sight. And so not just paranormal research there. I've a lot of historical research I've done, talking with former crew and passengers, and written 3 books on the ship. I mean, come on now, right?
Oh wow.
But it's just it's a loving obsession. It's just an amazing historic site. And in terms of
it's like me with Mothman.
See, you get it, right? You get it. Oh my gosh, Rosemary Ellen Guiley studied a lot on Mothman too. I actually have never. I would love to go and oh God, where is it again? I always can't think of it.
Go hang out at the TNT area.
Yes, I can never remember the name, but I would love to go and do more research.
Let me know when you come down, and I'll take you around.
Oh my gosh, yes, I would love that. I would love that. Same with the Queen Mary. If you guys come out, I'll take you around. But the paranormal side of the ship, there's just it's consistent. There's a lot of activity that will happen over and over and over, and you can talk to 5 different people that will talk about the same experience or something very similar that they had, but they were all on the ship at different times. So it's really, really consistent. It's almost like, I don't know, it's weird with the Queen Mary, and I'm sure this happens with a lot of other sites as well. I almost feel like it's one big giant time capsule where almost the past, present, future kind of fuse. It's weird. It's weird. It's a thought out. It's a well thought out, thought that I have, but that's just, that's kind of where I'm going with it. Very magnetic, that sort of thing. So
I've heard a lot of people say that, the different things that I've watched of people talking about it.
Yeah.
That it's just one big, like it stays in that time.
It does. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of aspects of the vessel. So you have a lot of Art Deco influence from the time. 56 different varieties of wood from all over the world that are inside the ship. So when you go on board, I mean, it looks like it did back in 34 when it was launched. So that all adds to it. And they have parties on board. They have reunions. There's, it's a hotel, so people stay on board. So there are things throughout the year that kind of coincide with its history and where you can kind of go back in time and almost relive what it would have been like to sail on board, which is really interesting. So if you guys come out, I'll show you around.
At least it's a ship for them to be doing all that. Like in Weston, here in West Virginia, there's the insane asylum that used to be where they would hold like the local prom.
Oh my god!
Like y'all are nuts. Yes,
yeah.
When we went on the tour, they brought us into like their ballroom, and they're like, "Yeah, we used to."
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, y'all are nuts.
I mean, out of all the places they could have prom, they chose that. Oh my!
Insane asylum.
Oh my gosh!
Weird.
Well, that reminds that is insane.
That floor don't look like it can hold all them kids.
No kidding.
2,
oh my god!
Are you locking them in here so they don't go?
Yeah.
Commingling around the the facility.
That is nuts. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've probably seen it. It's in a part of LA called Boyle Heights, Linda Vista Hospital. Very haunted, very, very haunted. They turned it into like a retirement home now. Just like,
wow.
What? It's
not
crazy.
Today, Satan.
No, I know. Oh my god.
That would be me, like as an elderly person, though. Yeah, just bring me there. I'll haunt them along with all the others.
I would love to get in there and interview the residents and be like, so, any interesting experiences you've had lately? Oh my gosh!
It's you say that it's weird, but as a paramedic, I've experienced calls where people have said the elderly people, they're seeing things or hearing. How the hell do I know they aren't?
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Right. You don't know I'm sure you've had some amazing experiences being a paramedic. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so and that's one of the things I've always questioned is kids and the elderly. How do you really know? You don't.
We don't.
Say they're crazy, or you say, oh, that's your childhood invisible friend or whatever.
Yeah.
But how do we really know? Or even others that may not develop as fully mentally or physically, they may have experiences too, and we're just pushing them aside because that's not
that's
the
true.
normal.
That's true. I know, right? Or like
I've
people
always
that are on
wondered that, so.
medications or whatnot. People are,
Yeah.
well, you're on medication, so therefore, yeah, your experiences aren't valid. Well, no, maybe in some cases, but not all.
Mm.
I'd be more likely to be like, nah, Debbie, I know you're on all that medicine, but tell me what you're seeing, man. I wanna hear about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, and if you tell me you see Richard Simmons swinging from a swing in your front yard, okay, now we got to have a different conversation. But
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny.
I've ran that call, but
Well, you have now. Okay.
Yeah, so I went and looked to make sure the swing wasn't there. I'll be quite honest with you.
Oh, that's funny.
But, yeah, well, you know, well, plus as a paramedic, it gives you a little bit of validity too, because you're taking somebody out of their situation. And you go, okay, wait a minute, I'm not going to rule them out. Let me at least walk out there and, on the off chance there is something out there. I do, and I've done it because
he hasn't been seen in a while, so he might have just needed a little.
There you
true.
go.
And
there
he is part of the Mandela effect too. So, but that's a whole different show.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. The Mandela effect. That fascinates me to no end. Oh my gosh.
How do you think that ties into the paranormal?
Makes me so mad.
Wait, what's that?
The freaking Bernstein Bears.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Bernstein my behind.
That's
Bernstein. Right. Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's not Bernstein at all.
I love it.
Yeah. How do you think any of that ties into the other side or the other dimensions? Or some people say that we cross lines and things change because, well, we went a different route than we were supposed to. I don't know that I buy into that. But at the same time, I don't know if I don't buy into it. So
yeah, that's interesting.
We're all hooked up living in the Matrix.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was just on another show with I co-authored an anthology with Marie D. Jones and Denise Agnew, and we were on another show earlier today, and we were talking about, is it possible? Look at all of us out here. You know, we're all investigating the paranormal. You know, we're interested. We're communicating, whether it's with maybe an earthbound or a spirit or Bigfoot, whoever it is. Are we somehow opening up a portal to the other side? And not just, when I say other side, not just the afterlife, but other types of dimensions. Are we causing that? Are we the catalyst, if you will? Maybe. I don't know. I know, you know, you hear stories of people that may commit suicide, for example, and it's thought, okay, if someone commits suicide, well, they will never be able to, this isn't me saying this, but I've heard this from many people. If you commit suicide, you're not going to be able to cross over. You're not going to advance. You're not going to become spirit. You're going to remain in limbo in this earthbound state. I don't know if I agree with that at all. I think that maybe initially, perhaps some people might, but I think that with the right direction, and I think in terms of intelligent energies, that there is some sort of choice. Some may choose to remain here for whatever reason. Maybe they love an antique. Maybe they want to help their family out, whatever it is. I think that they have a choice in some ways, maybe not all, but I think many do. And when the time is right, they can advance and become spirit and have more of that free will. But, you know, who are we to really know exactly? So
I tend to lean on the side of, you know, sometimes they really do have some unfinished business, and they need for people to acknowledge and let them know, like, no, it's cool. You go do your thing now. We got this.
Absolutely. Or like some cases, if someone dies and let's say the family is grieving so hard and that person may want to go and can go, but maybe feels compelled to stay on this side to help the family. I think that that's common. I know when my cat Kaylee passed, one of the first things I told her, I said, Kaylee, do not stay around for me. I'm going to be sad, but I want you to get your wings. I want you to fly. I want you to go where you're going to go now. And so I don't know. I think that may have helped her a little bit.
Yeah.
And so. I specifically with pets, I think that a lot, because my fiance Travis always says he had his dog Bear for 15 years.
Oh wow!
Got him since he was a puppy, and we were feeding a stray cat who brought us her kittens, and he will
Aw.
say, at least every other day, because one of those kittens absolutely adores him. He goes, I swear that cat is very reincarnated.
Right. And believe it, because that probably is. That absolutely, I bet you he's correct on that.
Well, it's from having him, I mean, it's almost like she is Bear and our other dog who more recently passed away mixed together. if that would be possible, because she is such a daddy's girl, but yet any attention she can get is good attention. And that's how Shayna was. But Bear was his dog through and through. And she's very much like, oh yeah, mommy, you can pet me and feed me and love me, but I'm still daddy's girl.
That is so precious. I love hearing stories like that. Oh, I love it.
When my dog Sassy passed away, she was probably with me during some of the toughest part of my life. We knew it was time, and it's a hard decision to make, and we had made the decision, but because of office hours and stuff, we couldn't. She was sick, laying on the floor. She said right before she died, she called mama, mama, mama. Audible as I'm talking to you right now. And she wanted Beth, my wife, to be there, laying down there beside her. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was I'll never forget hearing it in my entire life. So, but yeah, a dog. She spoke. She said, "Mama, mama,
on
mama."
The floor with that dog. She needs her mama.
So she said it in like the English language. We were just talking about whether or not animals can understand English, which I know they can.
It was it was audible, plain as day.
My god!
Because even Beth, who was in the living room, turned and looked at me, and I'm like, "She needs you. Go to her. She needs you now. She wants you to tell her it's okay to leave me alone."
That is incredible.
I'm gonna freaking cry.
Oh, no kidding.
I can't host another one of those shows for a few weeks.
Oh, I was going to get into some dream visitations I've had with Kaylee, but I won't, because I don't want you guys to cry. But oh my gosh, yeah, I'll just say that she's come to me so many times in dreams, and we're not talking just random dreams that we have every night or day. We're talking dream visitations. I've had like 24 now, where it's it's amazing.
Wow. So one of our questions earlier to their guest earlier was, do dreams have a meaning? And as a paramedic, my response is, I feel like it's probably our subconscious processing things that our conscious doesn't see. So, but you're right, when they repeat, is it something? Is it a spirit coming to you? Is it God coming to you? What is it? You gotta.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that there's those types of dreams, and I think that there's actual dream visitations where our loved ones can actually visit us. And every single dream that I've had with Kaylee is always in the same environment. It's actually the same environment as I am sleeping. So I'm laying in bed as I am laying in bed. It's the lights are off, same ambiance, right? And I'll feel Kaylee. Usually it starts with her jumping up on the bed. I'll feel her. I'll be able to then see her, sometimes pick her up, so I can see her, feel her, hear her. And it's phenomenal. And one of the last ones I had, and this was in the visitation, so in the dream, and they're getting longer too in duration, which is really weird. But I was, feeling her and talking to her, and she was on my chest. And all of a sudden, in the distance, this like whitish orb of light appeared, and it had like jagged edges. And then I saw Kaylee, she was laying on me, and then she kind of propped up, and I saw her head turn toward that whitish light. She got up on all fours, and then I saw her just propel through that whitish light, and then I woke up.
Wow.
And I woke up, and it was just such an utter sense of freaking love and peace, like unlike anything other.
Happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I saw her going home.
Yes, I was going to have you had other dreams like that with her since then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. That was, I think, I had one a couple weeks ago, and it was the one before that where I saw it. But I don't know. Maybe I saw her go back to her where she is now. I don't know, but it's insane. And I've had cats and dogs all my life, and I can't, for some reason, I don't have these dream visitations with my other cats, and or my dogs or my bird. But I think there's just something with Kaylee. Maybe she's just a little bit more intelligent. Maybe she's in a different level in the afterlife and she's able to, but it's like we meet in the middle. It's really, really weird. My brain tries to understand it. And I've had to tell my brain, you know what? Just experience it. Try not to understand. Try not to. Yeah. Just let it happen. Try not to like logically think about it.
That. I feel like all of mine are like, Cheyenne, you're working too much.
Oh, I have those too. Yeah.
I've woken up on so many occasions that like I'm yelling at Travis, no, I can't cash your check.
Oh my gosh,
you don't have an account here. I can't cash your check.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Are those headphones? Is that a headset? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so adorable. I just now noticed that. That's awesome. I want one.
It's just growing horns out of her head. So.
I don't know why I just noticed that. I should have noticed it like right at the beginning. Oh my god.
Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. Mm-hmm. That's where it's at.
Everything.
Yeah.
So aside from the cat and your investigations, what have you experienced multiple? Have you had encounters with the same entity multiple times?
Yes, I have actually, especially at the Queen Mary. Other locations that I've investigated over and over, the back earlier when I mentioned case studies where you're able to be at a site for a longer duration. So 2 of those sites for me have been the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe and the Queen Mary. And then my dear friend and kind of co-director, if you will, Allie, her and I led the tours at the Adobe, her too. And we would have the same types of experiences with the resident energies that are at the property. So at the Adobe, it's been a lot of audio. And I know that instrumental transcommunication is controversial. Not everyone likes it. It can be very subjective. We know that. So we're very careful. And when we review it, if the voices are almost the same, they're coming through month after month. And that's been the case for us there. Are they very clear to hear? Can you understand what's being said? If we're talking about or asking a historical question, they'll often answer, and the answer pertains to the history of the property. So those are things that we look for. And so that's been the case at the Adobe. For me at the Queen Mary, there's a lot of intelligent resident energies there just after years of going there that know me and I know them. One of whom, there's many, but one of whom is Jackie, the little 6 and 7-year-old girl that is often seen around the ship, specifically in the pool area. Now, with her, she was coined by Peter James, the psychic Peter James, and he was on the show Sightings, and he actually was the resident psychic many, many years ago on the Queen Mary. And so I believe he coined her, I want to say around like 91 or 92, and he felt that Jackie may have passed away by drowning in the 2nd class pool, which is now the 4D theater. It was stripped when the ship came into Long Beach. The former 1st and 3rd class pool is still there. That's the famous pool you were mentioning earlier, heart of the ship. And so a lot of people will experience her there. I think that I've seen her, I've heard her throughout the ship, but I think she knows that people associate her with that area. So that's why a lot of people will experience her there. I've seen her many times, picture like a little Shirley Temple. She could literally be her twin, very similar to that. I've heard her talk many times, very intelligent, a little girl. And it seems to be that a lot of the other spirits on board know who Jackie is. And it's interesting because people have asked me, do you think Jackie's real? Now, here's the thing. Back when I first started investigating, I questioned whether or not she was real. I thought, well, just think about all the people going on the ship every day, day after day, wanting to experience Jackie. Is this some sort of like tulpa, psychokinetic creation that we've created? I thought about that. Is there a possibility that there is like 2 Jackies on board, one that has kind of been created and then the real Jackie? Well, maybe, but I do believe she's real. absolutely. We don't know her origins. We've looked into it. I cannot find, whether or not she sailed on the ship. Theories of mine, maybe she came through from the Titanic. I don't know. The Queen Mary sailed past the Titanic sinking on its maiden voyage. So maybe that was the tap-in point. I don't know. I sometimes think is Jackie the spiritual representation of the ship itself? Maybe not. But for whatever reason, she's very popular. There's a documented crew deaths, or spirits of documented crew deaths as well on board. We have William Eric Stark, who was a senior second officer on board, sadly drank, he thought it was gin, but he consumed carbon tetrachloride and later passed away. And so he's been seen. I've seen him several times, heard him. The other, I'm going to not mention the name or initials just out of respect for the family. He was an 18-year-old crewman who sadly, tragically passed away in the aft engine room, crushed by door 13. I've seen him, I've heard him, communicated with him many times. So I think places where you have the opportunity to investigate over and over, places where you know the property really well and the energies know you, I think it's more of a chance for you to have repeated types of encounters. What about you guys in the places that you've investigated? Have you had similar types of repeated types of encounters?
Well, with me, I'm more the Bigfoot guy. I don't like.
Oh, see, I love that.
See,
that's awesome.
I have been with Dina on ghost hunts and things, but don't like the word hunt. But
me neither.
Ghost and corral. Yeah, but with Bigfoot, you get the feeling that it is, but you don't ever know. And like you said, I was one that wanted to go in with all this tech and all this. I started watching the people that had all this stuff, and they were getting no success.
Yeah.
Right. Well, think about it.
You're trying too hard here. So I got a little Sony digital. That's the best for EVP and communication. You probably know the little digital micro recorder data.
Oh, those are the best.
Recorder I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Got one of those. A flashlight. At my phone, but it's useless in the woods usually. So
right.
The camera. Not that. I don't need to prove to anyone that there is something there. I know it.
Right.
It's not my responsibility to prove to you Bigfoot exists.
That's a good point to remind people. That's a good reminder there. Right there. That's good.
Yeah, I already know it. So I don't need to. I can tell you if you don't believe me. Okay, I don't care.
Don't waste your energy on trying to prove it to people. But that's so true because you've probably had the same question asked of you as well. So what's the best piece of equipment? Well, ourselves, us humans, our senses.
We are an instrument, yes.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen people on investigations. I'm not criticizing because who am I? I'm no expert. But they'll sit in a semicircle or however they're sitting, and there's like 15 gadgets all around. And then before you know it, 5 hours passes by or however many hours, and you're just sitting there staring at the equipment all night. Mm-hmm. And you're missing out on so much.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Open your eyes.
With what happened to me, all I did was go in with my phone turned on to my stopwatch to see how long I was in there. And that was it.
That was it, right. And this whole thing about personal experiences, and I've met people that will not include psychic experiences, channeling experiences, or even personal experiences. Like if you see something or something touches you, they won't even include that in the investigation report. I disagree with that. I say put that in there because you may have another investigation down the road where someone else may have something similar. Mm-hmm. Or you might get an interesting audio or an EVP or something that may match what you saw or explain it a little better. So I'm like, you know what? Personal experiences to me are just as important as, a photo.
Mine was all just touch. It wasn't something I saw. But
but that's important though.
Yeah, like I was locked in that room myself and I was like, nope, I felt what just happened. Everybody else can think it's BS if they want, but I know that happened.
And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Yeah.
I grew up in a haunted house, so I was never a big fan of the things that go bump in the night, the ghosts and stuff like that.
It's funny because like with me either. Like I'm such a scaredy cat when it comes to the dark or anything. But as soon as we showed up for that paranormal tour, I was like, stick me at the front of the group. I'm gonna find whatever it is we got.
You're like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Take me.
I would love to go on a Bigfoot excursion.
Y'all won't go in that room. Stick me in there.
You go. What tour was that? Where were you guys?
That was when we went to the lunatic asylum in Weston.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh! Yeah, I've heard of that one. I've actually heard of that one. I can't believe they had a prom there. Oh my
gosh. They said that nobody could last 30 seconds in that room with it shut, and it was a room where they had kept people chained up.
Oh my gosh!
And so I'm standing right in the middle of the room with my phone sitting up. And I was like, all right, it's been 30 seconds and ain't nothing happened. And I'm just
survived.
There like this.
Yeah.
And it was, I would say after a minute, I could feel the squeezing on my wrists and my ankles.
Oh, maybe you were tapping into what they felt.
All at the same time. It just, on my wrists and my ankles at the same time, I just felt like somebody was doing this. And I was like, oh, okay. I got it.
That's incredible. See, and that I would rather hear that story than someone say, well, I went in that room and I had an EMF spike. Okay, well, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
You know, really in the grand scheme of things, you know.
Somebody could have got texted on the other side of the door.
Exactly. I mean, what's that say? What is
after like the shock wore down for a minute and I was like, holy crap. I just really felt that. I poked my head out the door and the tour has went on. And I was like, guys, I just felt
I'm by myself. Oh my gosh. I would love to go. I've been on one Bigfoot excursion. Well, kind of, not a full-fledged. I would love to do that though. Because that Bigfoot fascinates me.
There were so many flights of stairs too that I was just lagging behind.
Yeah.
And me and because there was a guide at the beginning and a guide at the end. The tour had already went up around the top part of the stairs, and I'm still back down here with the back guide. And I was like, "I'm sorry, man. There are just so many stairs." And then all of a sudden, a door just slammed shut.
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh!
And I looked back at him, and he's looking at me, and I was like, "You heard that, right?" And he's like, "Yep." And I was like, "Okay."
Oh my gosh.
But it kind of made me wonder because they were doing a lot of renovating in there to make the rooms look more what they looked like at the time. And I was like, I think some people aren't very happy about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting how activity increases during renovations. I've always found that really fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah. Trans-Allegheny. Have any of you been there? I'm wondering how that rivals Trans-Allegheny. I mean, the lunatic asylums, you know, they're
that's Weston. It's the Trans-Allegheny lunatic.
Oh, that is okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, I was forgetting that it had the other name associated with it.
Well, Weston is just the town.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Or the city, whatever it's called. But then we also have Moundsville, which is the penitentiary.
I'd love to visit both.
Yeah,
I know with Trans-Allegheny, there's the room. Is it the little girl that's seen there? And there's like a lot of like toys out there. Isn't the room painted like a blue?
There's a whole children's hallway.
Okay.
And the main lead of the tour was showing us pictures that he had gotten from being on tours.
And that place is massive. That's like, I mean, in a way, because I've been to Waverly, it looks like it's even bigger than Waverly. I mean, that's massive.
We didn't even get to go to the coolest part either. We were just in the main building, and there is a bigger outer part, but they said that they only take smaller groups into the outer part because it's a little bit more dangerous. And I was like, well... I want to see where all the cool stuff is.
Yeah, that place is massive, though. I can't even imagine because so many people were just like so mistreated there. Same with like Rolling Hills Asylum in Bethany, New York. It's, oh my gosh. But I would go in. I would, you know. So
I'll be on the outside waiting for you and Bigfoot. So,
and for the Mothman Festival down in Point Pleasant, they have the hotel down there, the Low Hotel, which is also supposed to be haunted. But when we went on that tour, there wasn't really anything that went on. But it was definitely a creepy older place.
I can imagine.
That was still kept very true to whenever it first opened, so I could at least appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate when buildings are like that. I really do.
Yeah, I wish they would have left the asylum the way it was. I was like, nobody cares for you to update it. They want to see what it looks like now.
Yeah. Right. Totally, right? It's a part of history. Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a flight paramedic, and we got stuck one night in Boston, and I can't remember the name of the hotel. And it was the Old Inn, I think, and it was haunted. And we got there at like 2 a.m. We were exhausted. It was snowing. We were going to be stuck there. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, this is a period, 18th century hotel. And then the guy starts telling us at 3 a.m. when we're all dead tired. Well, the rooms that you got are the haunted ones. That's
lovely. Lovely. Okay, I'll just stay up the rest of the morning.
Sleep. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I know what hotel you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I'm gonna look it up.
Y'all got any melatonin down at the front desk?
I know, right? Melatonin. Valium.
Yeah, Valium.
What are you talking about, Jack Daniels? I'm passing all that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
It was an interesting night.
Yeah,
but we got up the next morning and went down for their breakfast. And it was a great breakfast. They served us well and everything, and they took care of us. But all of us as a crew, there was two pilots, and myself and a nurse. We're like, so did you get any rest? We're like, nope, not one bit.
Yep, not one bit. Wow, but it's an experience though, and it reminds me too. I would love to stay at the Stanley, just to stay there. I'm a Stephen King fan, of course, but just to stay there. I know it's said to be haunted and all, but just it's so historic.
It's beautiful.
In Estes Park, it's kind of in the woods a little bit. It has that whole appeal to it. So I would love to go and stay there for a few days.
Yeah.
So
if you like all that, you definitely like it down at the TNT area too. That's some creepy stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's weird.
Be prepared to bring your boots.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's weird because I live in San Diego. A lot of people here are beach people. I love the beach. It's beautiful. But I take the woods any day over a beach. There's just something really comforting about woodlands and the woods. So yeah.
Well, you also have a radio show, don't you?
Right now I did. Yeah, I had the Afterlife Chronicles, and I did that for a couple of years. It's on hiatus. I'm actually coming out with a new show, and I'm kind of incorporating that in it. So, and then I also co-hosted Haunted Voices Radio with Todd Bates for a while. Went on hiatus, and now he's back. He's doing it solo, which he did back in 2004 when he started it. So, but doing podcasting and radio is a lot of fun. It's so addicting. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
I love talking to people and hearing their stories and learning from them and their experiences. It's great.
You make a lot of friends too.
You do. I know. It's awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of people are just willing to talk. I mean, it's it's you just ask and people will more than likely say yes. So
absolutely.
If you turn me down, actually, out of the whole year I've been doing this, I've only had one person turn me down. Is because she kept putting the Para or Normal, and I said that's part of the name.
Part of the name.
Are normal.
I think that's awesome.
We believe everybody has a story to tell. You may be a famous athlete. You may be, just John Doe on the street, but everybody has a story to tell.
And I love that.
To hear your story. Yeah.
Well, I like the ones too, like the disc golf people that we talk to. And the guy's like, well, it's not really much of anything. Like, no, freaking tell us.
Right. Yeah, I love you.
Really good one.
when you reached out
what
to
it
me,
is,
I was
you
like,
tell us.
yeah. I know when you reached out to me, I was hooked on the title. I was like, oh, this is a really unique title.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's surprising that someone would turn down based on that's weird to me, but
it was a well-known English person that might have an Antique Roadshow TV show. So that was the only no I have ever received.
Yeah.
It may have been that person. So
it may have
probably was their agent,
maybe
not
or
the
not.
But they did watch my show at least once. So I'm good with that.
Their loss.
That's right.
They don't get to hang out and do all the shenanigans.
Right? That's why I love doing shows, talking like this. I one time I did a show and it was like a job interview. I don't want to criticize, but it was like the host went down the list of questions and it was like no flow of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like this is a little odd. That's uncomfortable. I love shows like this where you can just chat and they're the best.
Go off on the tangents and get way off track, but then bring it back around.
That's how I am on YouTube. Might as well do it on podcast.
And that's how I am in real life too. So
exactly.
Ooh, shiny. Yep, here I go.
Yep.
I a lot of time. I mean, I try and read up about the guests and learn about the guests, but and then some of them, it's like I get the feeling I don't want to know too much. I want to learn about you.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
And so I like that approach. But yeah, everybody's got a story. Everybody's different. Of course, as a paramedic, I've seen all forms of life, and
I bet
I enjoy hearing how other people deal with these things too.
Right.
Some people, they're traumatic events. Other people, it changes their life. They get religion. Others are questioning, did I really just see that? So we don't have the answers. There's no scientific proof to any of this.
No, exactly. Exactly.
That's the weirdest part.
No,
I can
you
tell me you saw it. You
saw it. I'm down for it.
I often think, are we mortals supposed to know everything about the paranormal? I don't think we are. I think we're maybe given glimpses of it, but are we supposed to know all the equations to how and why of paranormal?
We'd lose
I don't think so.
Yeah,
we would
if we did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So I often think about that aspect of it. Anyways,
it reminds me of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yes.
And, she's like, I want to know everything. And then she just burns her eyes out and she disintegrates. That would be what happens with us.
Totally. I totally agree.
You tell me everything. You tell me everything, I'm gonna wind up committed. So I'm good with what I got.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm crazy enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get to wondering, do you find out when you're dead? I mean,
right.
They can't come back and tell you. So
when she was talking about that, I was like, man, this feels like Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, Nicole that was the guest right before you. When she was done, I was like, how did you just know my story? I mean, it was so close, and it was an odd feeling. So, but
I bet
I'd be like, shoot, if that happened to me, I'd have to tell everybody about it.
I know.
Everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's the crazy one.
No, not even.
That's the one to watch out for. Nicole, I'm not going to cut you off, but I do in the next couple minutes want to get some information from you from where people can find you and tell them about your book and stuff like that. And then we'll take a commercial break and you can hang with us for a few more minutes if you'd like.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
All right. Well, so this will be for our fans and listeners at WDJY and Radio Free Nashville. Make sure to tune in next week and get, well, I'm not sure who we have next week. I haven't looked. It'll be a good show nonetheless. But for right now, Nicole, where can they find you? Where can we get all the details on your stuff?
Sounds good. So my website is Nicole, NICOLE, D as in dog. My last name, Strickland.com. So NicoleDStrickland.com. I'm on Facebook. My main handle is, again, Nicole D. Strickland. I have Facebook for my team. That's the acronym SDPRS. I have a Queen Mary Facebook as well, Queen Mary Legacy, and We Love the Queen Mary group for those that are interested.
Nice.
Let's see. I'm coming out with a new show soon, Life Inspiration Project. The website has not been built, but the URL is lifeinspirationproject.com. And then Instagram, author Nicole Strickland. X, I'm not on that much, but I do have an account, and that's just at SDPRS Nicole. But pretty much I'm more on Facebook and Instagram than I am Twitter. And yeah, that's about it right now. So
I didn't hear you mention the awful talk. The awful talk. I can't stand TikTok.
You know what? I don't like it either. I don't like it either. I think it should be BANNED. Oh my gosh, I didn't say that. I sure did. Yeah.
Don't say that. Yep. Shay, you look like you looked up who we're gonna have next week.
Next week, back here on Para OR Normal Guyz, we've got Sin Schrader Hill. He's an author, editor, and publisher, and founder of the Elk Valley Paranormal and Touchdown Tommy.
All right.
I do not have who we have on Grin and Guardian.
I don't know either. So, all right. Well, let's take a quick pause here. And WDJY and Radio Free Nashville, thank you. Yerg's Radio. Remember, you can always hear us there on playback or find us on YouTube. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe. The Para OR Normal Guyz with a Z.
This is Robin Williams. I never listen to the Sportcat show.
Okay. Figure I have to do that at the 58-minute mark in order for it to, in radio, in order for it to fit in a little slot. So
yep.
we are officially off the clock now.
Fantastic.
This is free time.
This was fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
for chatting with you.
You know, some people, when you reach out and you think, gosh, they have a show, they do their own thing, they're going to be, kind of snotty, stuck up, whatever. I mean, like I said, we're just here to talk to people and have a good time.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I get a very genuine vibe, and there's just way too much of that, like stuck-upness in this field and this competition people have. I've never understood that. I've never. Yeah, I shake my head at that.
I don't know about that either.
Are you going to hunt the Bigfoot and bring the body? No.
Just do your thing, blaze your own trail, and have fun with it. And yeah,
you were talking about going in with the least amount of tools. I remember one of the first times I was introduced to, and you'll have to help me with the name of it, but it's where the FM or AM radio goes in a cycle, and you'll hear the voice come through.
I can't remember the name of that. The PSB7, PSB11 is one of or the Radio Shack hack. We use that as well. Allie has like an old Radio Shack hack, and I swear that thing works better than the PSB7 or 11 half the time.
Oh wow!
But
we were out investigating. It was it was more of like skunk ape. We were down in Florida, and we started having all these other things happen.
Oh wow!
And one of the guys in the group, who's one of the leaders, he had the radio and he turned it on, and we're in the middle of nowhere in Florida. So there wasn't even radio stations. This lady's voice comes through clear as a bell. Yoo-hoo! Over here.
Oh my gosh.
He flipped the AM. He's like, oh, that's nothing. Within 30 seconds, same voice, same everything. And he's like, okay, we're done. We're out of here.
I wonder what was out there. Like, what was that land? Was there ever any buildings up?
I think there had been some Indian mounds and stuff nearby, but it turned out that was a really odd investigation. We went looking for skunk ape. Instead, we found that the lady, the owner of the house, had recently divorced, and her son all went to school. One of her son's best friends was a police officer and been killed in the line of duty.
Oh my gosh.
We found out that the things going on there, she was bringing in, and she wasn't telling us. She had an affair with her son's best friend, which caused the divorce, and he was murdered. And so it was like all this stuff coming back, and we were like, how do we possibly know this? One of the people on our team is a psychologist.
Oh wow!
And he had to go in and talk to her. It's like, look, you didn't tell us this. We found this out, and we kind of know it. And that's when she broke out all the books from the witchcraft where she'd been trying to summon him and
there we go.
all these other things. And he's like, stop. You're not going to fix what you've already damaged. It's
there you
done.
go.
And that was the weirdest. We're all sitting out here with our Bigfoot equipment, and he's in there. We literally waited on him for like 3 hours outside.
That's
wow.
really, that's sad when you go and do like a private residence or whatnot, and they're not honest with you and they don't tell you information.
Yeah.
I mean, actually
that's scary.
That is very scary. I one of my friends actually, he was telling me they were doing some sort of like private home investigation, and then they found out that the family was like making stuff up.
Yeah.
And they during their investigation was trying to like cause situations and stuff, like making like little like not traps, but they were like trying to cause the activity. I'm just like, oh my gosh, they were out. They packed up their equipment and they were like, I'm out of here. That's
don't blame them
crazy.
either.
Crazy.
Yeah, because you bring good and bad.
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying. That's like dangerous, and especially if she's just flying off the seat of her pants and doesn't know what she's doing.
That's right. You never know. That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
What does into the picture of the Fisher Price Ouija board the other day?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah. Why it's not a toy? So.
I've actually heard people say, okay, it's a tool just like anything else. But for me, it's all the negative it's like so much negativity already attached to it. And I think that's why I don't use it, just because of that.
Well, you never know what you're coming in.
Right.
What
you
portal,
just don't
what
know.
door?
You don't know. You don't know at all.
Yeah.
And what's your thought on Bigfoot? I'd love your guys' opinion on what you think Bigfoot is. Or who Bigfoot is. Because you've done...
Well,
my name's Bigfoot.
I think he or she are interdimensional creatures.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I think that they choose to be here, but a lot of times I think they're sent here. So I don't know if that means that like they were bad somewhere else and got sent here, but that's the feeling I get. And then we do a lot of remote viewing.
Oh, fantastic. I love that.
In our group. And we have had some say that they were communicating with them on other planets in prison. So I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See that I've always thought, and you know more about it than I do, but I've always kind of ascribed to the thought that they're interdimensional.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel like they could be similar, like on how I really feel like with Mothman is kind of almost like an omen of warning.
Right.
Could be something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I would love to I've met people that have seen Bigfoot, that have heard Bigfoot. I can't say I haven't seen. I mean, I've been camping in the woods, and there were a couple of times maybe I heard the what's the term called? The whoop sounds maybe. Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So
it is. Dina, I know you got to go, so I'm going to let you get out of here.
Okay.
Nice meeting you, Dina.
You too.
Yeah, have a good
night.
I'm
so sleepy tonight. I
know. It's later for you guys too. I'm tired and it's earlier for me. Shoot.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And I hope we can have you back sometime too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys are amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. Good night.
Tell them that their head will get all swollen up and I won't be able to work.
No, not even. Oh no. I just get the genuineness. I feel like I've known you guys forever. You know that vibe? That's really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice to have guests that are willing to hang out for a few extra minutes and chat.
Totally, right?
Just tell us stuff because I feel so stuffed when I'm on the radio or something. Now this will be processed later, probably for TV, but that'll be down the road. So it's funny how.
At the end of the day, it's just we're all just people.
We are, right? And we're more similar than we really, than we give ourselves credit. This is actually my first time using Streamlabs. I've used StreamYard, I've used Restream, Riverside. I actually like it.
It's got its perks, but and they all do. But I think with this, I'm able to stream to more places and get to more sites than I can with the others. So there's some StreamYard? There's some that I have to still and go upload to. If you want to be on Rumble, for instance, who's going to pay their fee? So you wait and you upload it to. I didn't know that.
So Streamlabs. So what does Streamlabs stream to that StreamYard can't? Is it a bunch of other sites or?
It's not that it's a bunch of other sites. I mean, I think there are a couple others, but it's the fact that you can go to more. Yeah,
you can do more. I see. Yeah. I think StreamYard, it gives you 8 maximum. That's the last time I looked at it. So
I think you're correct, and I think
it's 8.
I go to like 11 at a time. We're on like 4 Facebook groups now and 3 Facebook pages, and we're on the Parapost network. Gosh, I keep forgetting to say that we just got affiliated with them.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, and we're on Jurg's radio, and he replays our shows, the audio format. And we're going to be coming up on a new channel here, next week. So technically, just a few minutes ago, the first show ended. So we're still learning this. So yeah, so that's the one thing I haven't figured out about this is I started out with just wanting to talk to some people and have some fun. And a year later, I'm getting people calling that I'm going on TV. We're going on the radio. And I'm like, why? It's just me. There's nothing fancy about me. So,
but it's the feel, it's the energy, I think really has something to do with it. There's just such a genuine, you just want to be here sort of vibe. And I think that's really cool. Cause not every host has that, some are just like, so it's been fun.
Well, I think it's the genuine in that we're all like, we want to hear about the.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Yeah, there's very few times that I will turn it down. And we've had on the show, they've heard screams come through the microphone. I've had my hair pulled, something's touched me, and I'm like,
disappeared randomly.
Yeah, I disappeared 2, 3 shows ago, and I was somewhere completely else. I was talking to the show and everybody. I was interacting, and when I came back, I wasn't there.
Was it like, did you go into like a time slip or something?
I do not have a clue. I've asked some friends to remote view it and look into it, and somebody told me, said, leave it alone, and said, okay, don't question it any further.
Yeah.
Because literally I got 2 screens in front of me, and with that I can add multiple things. And I saw that we went off, but we were still live streaming. And I saw us on YouTube, and I was still interacting, but I knew we weren't going out. And the next thing, everything blipped, and I came back, and they were talking about something totally different.
Because I'm like, hey guys, on our end, it was just me, Dina, and the guest. He was completely gone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's bizarre. Wow.
Yeah.
I think wasn't that the same episode we heard the screams on?
I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So.
Speaking of, I did a show after Kaylee passed away. I did a little remembrance show for her, and I didn't hear it live, but I never go back and listen to shows. I never do that, but something said, go back and listen to that show. And I forget, it was about a half hour into it, she meowed. It was EVP. And I was like, whoa.
That's cool.
So I actually clipped it, and I'm like, whoa. Point blank, she was like right near the microphone. Meow. Did not hear it live.
I don't know if y'all have watched me, but I've got it turned on where I can see my microphone's moving. And every now and then in the corner of my eye, I'll look up, but it's moving. And so I'm like, all right, after the show, are the girls going to tell me what I missed this time?
Right. I think we have the same. I have the Shure as well. It's not. Yeah, I love it. It's so nice. I need to, because it's right now just USB. I want to XLR it and get a little bit better, but it's a good mic.
You sound great.
Yeah, you do. And I'm stuck with USB because I go back and forth between it and the laptop. So
I think it sounds. Yeah, no, I think the USB version sounds good myself.
Yeah,
so yeah,
I'm happy. Upgraded from the Yeti. The Yeti, my dog could poop in the other room with 3 doors closed between now and then, and I'd hear him.
Yeah.
That was the most annoying
I have
thing.
one too, but it does pick up a lot. Even if you do the what is it, the cardioid or whatever, even with that, it picks up. It's crazy.
Well, I bought the expensive sock that went on it that had a big fur on it.
Still does it. Yep. Hear a mouse fart. Yep.
Yeah. It's great mic, but good Lord.
Yeah.
You'd be deaf listening to it.
I know, right?
Everything. It reminded me of the story of Batman and Superman when they traded powers, and Batman went crazy because he could hear everything. He says, "How do you live with this?" He goes, "What are you talking about?"
Yep, exactly. Totally. Yeah. I love it.
Well, Nicole, I don't want to keep you, but I'm glad you just wanted to hang around a few extra minutes.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks so much for reaching out. Yeah, I remember when you reached out, when was that, a month ago or whatever? I was like, yeah, this sounds like, a lot of fun. So definitely keep in touch for sure. Yeah. And then keep me posted
on something.
Sure.
That too.
Absolutely. I need to get back out into your neck of the woods. My grandmother, my dad's mom actually was from Georgia area, and it's so beautiful. And I've Savannah. I love Savannah. Oh my gosh, I went in 2006. I could live there. It's just awesome. So, but yeah, keep in touch. Let me know any highlights or new things going on with your station. Let me know. I'll help share it. So yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Cool. No, not a problem at all. We appreciate it. And yeah, if you ever want to partner up, do something, let one of us know.
Absolutely. Likewise.
That's what makes this stuff so fun.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. I agree.
That's how I met Cheyenne. So, and she just kind of one of us now. So
yeah, see there.
I was like, oh, paranormal. I'm on that.
Yep. Right. I would love to partner up with you guys, do an event or something like that.
Cheyenne said to us, "Come, you're with our people."
Yes. Right. Exactly. Yes. Right. It's a big world, but yet it's a small world too. It's crazy like that, but
absolutely. All right. Well, I will keep in touch.
Sure.
Actually, we might have some ideas on a show special or something we could do.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. You know where I am. That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
One of us will find you.
Yeah. Likewise.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again. We will see you soon, and we're gonna let you. Let you get out of here and talk to you soon.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good night. All right.
Thank you for coming on. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, I do need another Mountain Dew. All right. Well, Shy, I appreciate you for hanging with us the whole time. So, I know Dina had to go do some things, but it's been a great show. And I hope that they can use this here in a little while on the new network. And they need to remember to have their fans tune in to us on Friday night, 9:05 Eastern Daylight Time. We'll announce the big thing.
And Cheyenne said, like, comment, subscribe.
Yes, I always forget to do that. Wherever you're hearing this, you can go to YouTube and see all of our shows at the Para OR Normal Guyz, separate words with a Z. And you'll find all of our old shows there. Some of my greatest mistakes. So,
and us not knowing what the heck we're doing, just doing it.
Yeah. I don't even know how to make a podcast. I don't know why they keep calling me. Yerg's Radio, I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing us to use your phone number. And let's see, WDJY, Radio Free Nashville, WRFN, Radio Fairfax. Who am I forgetting? Denver, Colorado, Boulder,
New Mexico.
Oh yeah, New Mexico and San Francisco, and soon. I don't know. There may be a Golden Arch in our future. I'm a fat guy. It could be McDonald's, though. Who knows?
Give me a double cheeseburger.
There you go.